Yo, peace and welcome to Bishop Chronicles. As always, I'm your host, Adisa Banjoko. It is time to holla at a scholar. And today we're going to talk about fasting for several reasons. One, because it's Ramadan. You know what I'm saying? Ramadan is the Islamic month of fasting, although I consider myself to be an aspiring Stoic, just meaning that, it's a hard thing to actually embody on a daily basis in terms of your own sense of self-mastery that obviously I don't pretend to be some high-end scholar of it. I'm just trying to enjoy the path of Stoic philosophy. And I am Muslim, right? So it is time to fast, right? So, fasting has become a big deal in America in the last few years. And I think that in all years prior, until Rogan, Huberman Lab, and random middle America folks started talking about it, almost everything Muslims did was frowned upon. Now everybody's fasting. But nobody talks about how the Muslims been doing it here forever. Now everybody's trying to, let's just do a non-alcoholic bar and not drink. Interesting. But let's make all the non-alcoholic drinks cost as much as alcohol. Interesting. And so I wanted to talk about some of this stuff, right? Because about 2 years ago, a really good friend of mine named Marie, childhood friend, called me talking about a guy named Dr. Berg. Now, Dr. Berg has a YouTube page, and he did a whole thing about how the cancer rates in the Middle East were some of the lowest in the world, and he believed that this was due to the fasting of Ramadan. It was very interesting because she knew I was Muslim, and I've been Muslim for quite a while. I converted in 1990, right before my 21st birthday. I'm now 55. And because if you've seen one of my more recent posts, I talked about, like, how do you start fighting cancer before you actually have it? And one of the ways that I plan to do it is fasting. So I'm using this Ramadan to prep my body for eating less, and using the fasting to start trying to purge any cancerous bad cell stuff in my system, right? So, Islam has fasting. It is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, right? Kind of the foundational elements that one would take on that makes you a Muslim, right? And fasting, the first time I did it was really hard. I was not yet Muslim. I was looking into Islam, and I think at that time it was like daylight savings time. Yeah, it seems like it was the summer. And so my friend, who had kind of been teaching me about Islamic stuff, said, you get up and you eat before the sun comes up, and then you don't eat again until it goes down. Daylight savings time, I don't know I'm waiting for the sun to go all the way down. And I remember being at my other friend's house. He was like, "You're not going to eat or drink all day?" I swear it was like 8:30 or 9. It felt really late. And I thought I was going to die. If you've never done fasting before, especially like a dry fast, right? Because some people fast like, I'm not eating, but I'm drinking water. When you do Ramadan, you get up in the morning and you eat what they call suhoor, which is your meal before the first rays of dawn break across the horizon, and then you do not eat or drink again until the sun begins to set. Evening prayer, which is known as Maghrib prayer. Okay, so people always, even friends I've had for years, will be like, "Not even water," and I was like, you know what? I think I might make a website, $1 billion idea, a website called Not Even Water, outlining Ramadan stuff. I just made somebody a bunch of money. Congratulations! Please break me off. And so I thought it was really hard. But after I took Shahada, and that is when you convert to Islam formally, and I did Ramadan, it wasn't that hard. And I've always loved doing it. I really have. I found it to be a very spiritually grounding thing. And this was before all of the physiological benefits were even really on my mind. Back to this thing of like fasting being popular in the West. Anybody from Black America will tell you that Muslims, especially those from the Nation of Islam, been fasting and promoting fasting super early on. And even if you're talking about intermittent fasting, you know who one of the pioneers of intermittent fasting in Black America is? And we don't think about him as this, but you know who it is? It's Malcolm X. Look up Malcolm X. He said he only ate one meal a day and pretty much drank water and coffee the rest of the day. That's intermittent fasting, right? And he was taught that by Elijah Muhammad, also known as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, head of the Nation of Islam, in its origins. And man, like he wrote a book called How to Eat to Live. That's another thing. People used to say they knew you was a Muslim, you was a black Muslim if you read cans, if you read ingredients, right? Because they're not only not trying to not have pork, obviously, in their system. They're not only not just trying to have not avoid alcohol, right? They're looking for bad, non-natural things, right? This processed food, anti-processed food push was really created largely by the Nation of Islam in North America for American Muslims. And quite honestly, if people are being thorough, a lot of Sunni Orthodox Muslims, which I am, have really bad diets. Not all Muslim food is great for you. Not because it's inherently bad in terms of like having pork and whatnot, because we already know that's not on the table. But like it has a lot of oil, it has a lot of sugar, it has a lot of these other things, and that's no good, right? Somebody actually sent me this meme that said, "Oh, I'm gonna eat healthy this Ramadan," and it showed all this oil being poured into this huge vat for some dish that was being made in the Middle East, right? So fasting is good, but you still need to eat good, eat clean. I'm hoping to use this as a transition into just staying vegetarian. That is my plan, and then hopefully, if I feel like it, going vegan down the line by the end of 2027, not this year, right? And so, among other things, there's this whole idea of taqwa, right? Like God consciousness, right? That really kind of has a higher presence in your life when you're fasting the Islamic way. And also, it's intended for you to have a higher sense of gratitude and compassion, right? People often forget like how Islam works, but Islam and Judaism both run on lunar calendars, right? And so that's why it's always shifting, right? That's why it was in daylight savings time even a few years ago, and long before then. But it moves, and sometimes it'll be in the shorter times, right? So this is not too harsh of a fast. I'll get up around 3:45, something like that, and I'll have my food in my system by about 5:10 or whatever, right? And then I eat and drink whatever I eat and drink, and then I wait until it's time for Maghrib, right? Which is about, I think, a little bit after 6 o'clock now, right? Just a few minutes after. But every day it's going to move a little bit in one direction and shrink up a bit on the other, like it shifts, and then you go from new moon to new moon. It's a beautiful thing. And then they have these iftar dinners, which are big community dinners. The food's always ridiculous, and the friendship and the jovial nature of things is really beautiful. It makes you mentally strong. It makes you physically strong because you have to do a lot of work anyway. You still got to work, especially like in the Arab world. Apparently, a lot of stuff just shuts down because people ain't trying to be in the sun and worn out too much. And apparently, a lot of the popular entertainment on television and whatnot is top notch during Ramadan. That's what they say. I ain't never been, but for an American Muslim, bro, it's just Wednesday. Right? It's just Wednesday. And so you got to go through your day, and you would think like that would be hard, and sometimes it can be, but generally it's not going to break you the way you think. I'm often blown away by a lot of my American friends of all faiths, especially Christians though, who act like this is a concept beyond their ability to do. It's not beyond your ability to do. It's really not. As I reflect, I just took some notes here. Like it's a beautiful thing to look at how you function if you don't have everything you think you need to get through the day, right? Like people, if I don't have my coffee, if I don't have my donut, if I don't have my, right? Nah, you don't need it. You'll be all right. You'll be just fine. Right. And then there are accommodations for travelers. So like if you're fasting and you're traveling, there are accommodations. Don't trip. If you're actually sick, right? Maybe you're diabetic, you take pills of some sort or whatever. you know, it doesn't apply. Pregnant women, obviously, right? And others, and you can make days up, right? So if something happened, if you had to take a pill or if you had to do something to eat, it's no big deal. You can make those days up, right? Like I know, is his name Ankalev, the guy that's fighting in the upcoming UFC against Pereira? I think he said there were certain days he wouldn't be fasting because because he needs to make weight. So a certain amount of water intake, whatever, you can make those days up later, right? And it's just a beautiful time. Um, Ramadan is a really beautiful time. I study a lot of stuff of what's known as the Sirah, right? Which is the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And, you know, the reason I read this is because I'm Muslim, but I'm not like a hardcore Islamic scholar. I know certain things about Islamic history. I've lectured on Islamic history at Harvard, at Brown, at Stanford, and other universities. But I don't consider myself a hardcore Islamic scholar, like at all, right? And even if you don't have that, just to study the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is really interesting. There's a lot of things, I promise you do not know that are really cool. There's a talk by a guy named Hamza Yusuf, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, from Zaytuna College. He did a tape about the Sirah that's on YouTube, and you can watch that. But he's also done, apparently, a newer conversation about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and I just started sitting with that. You know, before my kids were born, all three of my children, I played these Sirah tapes to the womb of my ex-wife while my kids were forming, because I thought it was important. And if you look up different studies about the Quran, the tonal quality of the Quran and whatnot is known to be scientifically proven to relax anxiety and things like that. And so we played that to my children's womb, to my ex-wife's womb, and it was a beautiful time. But the main thing is that, you know, you learn about compassion, you learn about character, you learn about these different things. You usually turn down a lot of the social media stuff. You'll turn down a lot of the music listening and the TV watching, and you try to take yourself and your world a little bit more seriously. And I enjoy it. But, you know, one of the main reasons I'm talking about this is because of all of the benefits of fasting that people don't recognize that Ramadan has always helped all of its practitioners get, right? Like the metabolic benefits of the dawn to sunset cycle. Now everybody's talking about circadian rhythm. We've been on it. You get up, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You hear the adhan, that call to prayer. You get on it, right? Intermittent fasting research. So much intermittent fasting research has been applied to the Ramadan pattern. You know, everybody says, oh, my window this, my window that. Yo, what about this window? You know what I'm talking about? Like Ramadan's lit. And obviously autophagy, right? Activation and cellular renewal. That's what I'm hoping will help me right now. But hopefully the years of doing it have helped me. Who knows the diseases I don't have because I've been fasting for so long? Who knows? Only God. But maybe more when I check in with my doctor. But, you know, I don't have any pressing issues. I think I told you I had a colonoscopy. They found a precancerous polyp. They took it out. And I've just been thinking about, like, you know, because my grandmother passed away at 65 and I'm now 55, if she knew that she would be dead 10 years from now, how different would she have lived, right? And if I have tools like fasting at my disposal, of course I'm going to do it during Ramadan, but I should be doing it more as well, right? To try and starve the cancer out. And what kinds of things can I be taking to make my entire body an anti-tumor and cancer, an antiviral, and an antibacterial vessel where those things aren't safe inside me. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have a body where viruses and bacteria are not safe inside and on me, right? And I plan to use fasting as a big part of that, right? And that made me think about, because I'm always thinking about this mergence of Stoicism and Islam, because I am both a Muslim and a Stoic. And it's also important to know that Stoicism is a philosophy for people of all backgrounds. So you can be a person of faith, you can be an agnostic, which means someone who's not sure that God exists, or if they do, like, they're not sure that they have a way to communicate or impact someone's life directly, or an atheist. And Stoic philosophy can and should have decent applications in your life, right? Um, but let's look at some of these things, right? That when you are doing fasting, you are taking on what the Stoics call intentional discomfort, right? Premetio malorum. I probably said that horrible. Premeditatio malorum, right? Seneca, one of my favorite Stoic authors, was always advocating for periodic voluntary poverty and fasting. It's also important to note that, like me moving towards being a vegetarian right now, that for a while, a lot of the Stoics were vegetarian. And this was not necessarily, according to most of the people who write about it, not like any big statement other than a statement for simple living, right? That, like in China and other parts of the world, if you had beef, if you had lamb, that was considered an authentic luxury, right? And so that they were vegetarian by virtue of just trying to eat simply. So I am trying to eat more simply. Plus, it's good for you, right? Like, you can look up anything. I've been doing it for years. But, like, if you look up, there's a book called Back to Eden by Joseph Kloss, Kloss. I think it's Joseph Kloss. Amazing. It's more of like a reference book, but it will show you all the different ways in which every different vegetable, plant, whatever that we tend to eat, what its medicinal benefits are. And so you can use this book to think about, well, you go to the doctor says these things are wrong with you. You can go through that book, start highlighting, and oh man, I used that book to cure my son's eczema. Yes, I did. Man, it's crazy. It's so crazy. And I got that book originally from a beautiful Muslim woman named Mrs. Lightfoot, who passed away not too long ago. May she rest in peace. She was a beautiful soul over at John O'Connell. Shout out to the OGs in the mission. You know how we do. But, also the Stoic lens of appreciation through temporary denial, right? Like, think about how when there's someone you love in your life, you don't get to see him for a while. When you see him, you're so juiced, right? You're so juiced to see him, right? Even if it's your child going to school and coming back, right? Even if your spouse going to work and coming back. Maybe they have to go somewhere for a work vacation or whatever, right? And then you come back, you're so happy to see him, right? It's the same thing with food. It's the same thing with soda. It's the same thing with candy. It's the same thing with water. You'd be like, yo, this water. You feel me? Right? And then rational management of the physical appetites. This is a big deal, man. I'm addicted to sugar. This is also a big part of my fight against sugar, right? Taming my tongue so that I can be like, yo, maybe it's not time to have gummy bears again. Maybe it's not time to have a candy bar. Maybe it's not time to buy some ice cream. I got a sweet tooth and I don't want it to take me out. Because there are a few people in my family who've gotten diabetic. One was an aunt who passed away because, in my observation, she didn't really respect the nature of the disease. And one was my father, who has been diabetic for quite a while, but you would never know it. And he's always done a lot of disciplined ways of being, right? And the communal aspects of a shared practice. And this is real. There ain't nothing better than coming across another Muslim in the mall in Ramadan. They see you, you see them, and be like, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, Maki. All right. You know what I mean? Like, I see you out there struggling through it and still making it happen. And what's also interesting, I was talking to my homie Jeff, who's a student of mine at Half Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in San Jose. And he was telling me, he's from Detroit, and he was telling me about a school or an area that was mainly Muslim. did he say it was Folsom College, Folden College? I don't know. Or Folsom High School. But he said it's a very Islamic area. And he said that anytime there were contact sports being played through Ramadan, the Muslim students went off and they always won. He said, we always knew we were going to lose when Ramadan came. Because despite not eating and drinking anything, they played full out and they wanted it and they won, which is hilarious, right? And this just goes to show you that anybody can do more with less when they choose to. Anybody can do more with less when they choose to. So if you go, oh man, I could never fast like that, then you won't. Oh man, I could never do without, then you won't. But if you go, you know what? Let me see what happens. I think I can hang. You'd be shocked at what you're capable of, right? And then there's also, right, to my Christian brothers and sisters around the world, right, the fast of Daniel. People don't respect inside Christianity. My people, my friends, my homies, my family. People don't really respect the fast of Daniel in modern Christianity. A few people have kind of popularized it to a degree, but it's shocking to me how few Christians even know that the fast of Daniel exists. You may be a Christian or somewhat knowledgeable about Christianity and say, well, what is that? Well, this comes from the book of Daniel, right? 6th century BCE. It's 10-day vegetable and water fast as a resistance to Babylonian culture. Daniel was locked up. Him and his homie said, man, we just going to eat vegetables and water in here. No animal products, no oils, I think, right? And so they have a lot of modern interpretations for the practice of the fast of Daniel, and the spiritual fast of the fast of Daniel is very akin to the fast of Ramadan. It's not the same, but the intention is the same. It's not the same, but the lessons are still mutually in both. And I wish that Muslims, Christians, and Jews, as well as Buddhists and other faiths that practice fasting, would be more mutually engaging with one another in how they practice it, right? What else did I want to say? Before I go. Yeah, so, there are definitely many Buddhist approaches to mindful eating and periodic abstaining. If I'm honest, one of the things that makes me laugh, oh, look at that. Man, I had left some sugar in the house, and these ants, has been raining outside, and Ant was just walking over the front of the camera. That's hilarious. I was like, what is going on with the camera? It's a little ant looking for food. That's gone, bros. Get out of here. It's raining. Anyway, I mean, you can hang out for a little bit, but there's nothing to eat. It's an interesting thing to jump into mindful eating and periodic abstaining, right? Because I remember when I read the Dhammapada, and this would have been before I converted to Islam, it was in the Dhammapada that the work by the Buddha inspired me to be more mindful about how I ate. I don't remember the section, but he was basically saying, like, how often do you just eat and eat and eat, and you're not even listening to if your body is full? And that was kind of the beginning, right? As I was eating, and a lot of this comes from the poverty mindsets that come from being broke, especially in black families, where you're going to eat everything on that plate. You're going to eat everything, right? But why are we eating everything? Because we're broke, or the families originally came to, I came from an upper middle class background. But what I'm saying is that the mindsets of the poor South still exist in almost every mindset across economic strata inside Black America. So you're still going to eat like you might not eat again. And now food's everywhere. Now there's DoorDash, and now, right? So we need to start doing this, right? And we need to start using whatever, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, the fast of Daniel and the Christian path, whatever, right? Or if you're just a Huberman Lab or Rogan fanatic, to start looking at using fasting to be a better human for yourself and your community, right? And to live longer, right? If you remember the previous episode with Professor Greg Watkins, right? His teacher asked the question, what is the big question? How to live. I think it's hard as a 55-year-old black man to say that. And when I look at how to live, what is the best way to live without fasting feels foolish at this phase. Even if you've never done it, look at all your friends. Look at yourself. It's hard out here. And fasting is just too scientifically proven to stay away from it unless you just be like, yo, I don't care. I'm about to George Burns it into the grave. You know what I'm saying? Which sometimes that works for people. I might be doing all this, have a heart attack tonight, and then it don't even matter. People are like, damn, he was just talking about fasting. Anyway, he did. Let's go get a triple cheeseburger. You feel me? We all got to do what we got to do, but I'm going to try and do what I do, winning and living and thriving through fasting. in the Islamic way because I'm Muslim, and in many other ways because it's beneficial, right? And so I guess in the Buddhist path, they have a monastic tradition of not eating till after midday. And this reminds me of Riza, and I've talked about this before. One time, me and him were on the phone, and he was talking about, I think it was Ramadan, and several years ago, and he said that in Shaolin, in the actual Shaolin monastery where he studied and stayed, I believe at least once, for sure once at least, that they had some kind of phrase like, you earn your breakfast. Like, you just don't get up and eat. That you earn your breakfast. You go do stuff and then you eat later, right? So that's a beautiful thing. Shout out to Shaolin monk Xian Ming. Know what I mean? And then they have Taoist fasting practices, right? Where they avoid grains, right? And use fasting as an energy cultivator rather than a denial, which is a big deal, right? I know people don't like to talk about chi. I know people don't like to talk about people's inner energy, but apparently in the Taoist practice, right, they will use fasting as a time to cultivate their inner energy and higher self, which is crucial and the best part, right? So before I go, I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you have a blessed Ramadan. To all my Muslim fam around the world, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. I hope you have a beautiful Eid. I hope everything you're praying for and looking for comes to you, right? And I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but my boy Tahir told me this prayer, this dua that says, may God give you what you need wrapped in what you want. All right? So on that note, right, holla at a scholar whenever. If anybody got questions about whatever, hit me up, right, at Bishop Chronicles on IG. You know what I'm saying? DM your boy. Ask me anything you want, but I'm not asking I'm not answering weird questions about sex and relationship stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm really not. But I do hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful Ramadan. Okay, and if you haven't been fasting, or you're not Muslim, you be like, I hope you look into it. I hope you jump into Claude.ai or ChatGPT and look up the scientifically proven benefits of fasting, and then go up, see what Dr. Berg said, right? And I hope you get a higher sense of self-awareness through this physical discipline. I hope you get a sense of what it means to do voluntary hardship as a Stoic. I hope you get the recalibration of a relationship with your body that's beyond just demand of sensations, right? And I hope that obviously and honestly that you can find a level of transcendence through temporary physical limitation, so you can find out how limitless you truly are. Okay? Have a fantastic rest of your day. Please share this with at least 2 people that you know. That's the only thing I ask. You know what I'm saying? And I think they're trying to gaffle me up on IG, yo. Will you like and share more of my stuff, please? Because, I can tell, something's going on. I don't like to use the word shadow ban, but something's going on over there. You know what I mean? So, help your boy out. Holla at a scholar. Let's stay in tune. Look out for more. Assalamu alaikum.